Good morning, Santa Clarita. You're listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I am attorney Wade Skalski, and this is Wade Beyond the Courtroom, where law and culture meet. Today, we are going to be talking about lawyers behaving badly. But before we do that...
Wasn't that last week's topic?
No, last week's was individual lawyers behaving badly.
Oh, okay.
This week, we're going to be talking about lawyers as a group.
So as a collective.
That's correct, yes. But Mike, you went with the collared shirt again today.
I'm wearing Apartment 19 again today, yes.
Yes, it's a running joke in our show that we like to talk about visual things on the radio. It's radio gold.
And you as well are wearing a polo
Well,
today.
I always wear a black
my
polo.
goodness.
That's my YouTube appearance, so that's all good. But
we both have great radio hair.
Perfect.
You gotta say that.
Perfect.
I mean, people walk by
radio
and they
hair.
go, "Wow, look at that radio hair."
They should be on radio if they're not.
Exactly.
So anyway, today we're going to be talking about lawyers as a whole behaving badly, but more importantly, how to find a good lawyer in the sea of lawyers behaving badly. And to do
Google.
that, we're going to bring in a guest today who's a very good friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time. He's an excellent attorney. His name is Nicholas Alcock. Nick, are you there?
Wait, I am here.
Yay! All right, good. We have our good technical difficulties. So, Nick, you are a practicing attorney. Is that correct?
I am.
Good.
Emphasis on practicing.
That's right. That's right. So, I think it's interesting. Well, and you actually you have a law firm yourself. You supervise. Over the years, you've supervised a large number of attorneys. I would fair to say, correct?
I have, and Wade, I got to tell you, they're crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be the theme of the show today. And we're going to drop some interesting facts that people may not know. So, Nick, you've actually done a little research on this, and you were telling me some shocking numbers about attorneys.
So, Wade, attorneys are something like 600% more likely to kill themselves, unfortunately.
Wow.
They're 300% more likely to be drug addicts or alcohol addicts, and it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable to think that you have this persona of this attorney who's buttoned down and straight-laced, but secretly, I think they're really messed up.
Well, and there's a huge number of attorneys, especially here in California. Now, you practice in Arizona. That's where you do your main damage in the legal field?
I do, but wait, I got to tell you, they're crazy everywhere. Everywhere I go, I got to tell you, I think that they're a little shaky.
The only thing about Arizona that makes them a little shakier is that they can really arm themselves very easily in Arizona. So the gun laws are not very restrictive there.
They can, and actually there was a freeway shooting recently. There was a string of shootings. I don't know if you heard about it, but it just made everybody even more on edge. The people walking around with guns because some nutcase was shooting people on the freeway. So
Did they catch that guy?
They think they did.
Well, here's the test. Have the freeway shootings stopped since they caught that guy?
Well, I think that they caught the guy last night, so we'll find out.
Okay, we'll find out this week during the commute.
Maybe he ran out of ammo.
You don't know.
I'm excited to drive to work and to think possibly that I'm not going to get shot at. I think this is a very exciting development.
Exactly. Well, let's and the thing is, I think what people, and I think you brought up a very good point, is that people don't realize that, we have all the movies and the TVs and, Atticus Finch and these ideas of lawyers as very dialed in and in a suit and basically being professionals and having it all together. But really, all going to law school does is teach you how to think about being a lawyer. It doesn't teach you any business skills. It doesn't teach you any life skills. It doesn't teach you any of the other things, and then you're put into this marketplace of lawyers that is incredibly competitive. The stakes are incredibly high, and no one has proper coping mechanisms. Is that a fair assessment, Nick?
Totally. And in Kentucky, there were 15 lawyers recently who committed suicide, and they all fit the same mold. Now, granted, it's Kentucky, but they're all the same mold of middle-aged, upper-middle class trial attorneys, and they just snapped. They just broke under the pressure.
There were 15 of them?
15 of them, kind of in a row.
Wow.
Where they just, one after another, and it made the news, and it got my attention because I realized that this is the kind of job where the pressure, it creeps up on you, and the temperature, it comes up slowly, and you're the frog in the pot. Next thing you know, you've got 7 cases set to trial, and you lose it.
Is that defense attorneys and prosecutors?
I think it was mostly defense attorneys or trial attorneys. So either it was a combination of criminal defense attorneys and civil litigators.
Well, we saw some video of and this is funny. Is like John Oliver last week was talking about public defenders and how overburdened they were, and there was a video though of a public defender and a judge in Florida actually be challenging each other to a fist fight. Things that you would never think that would happen, and that judge is still on the bench, but you could hear him fist fighting the public defender in the hallway. It was
Wow.
it was a little crazy. Now for a practical sense, in terms of besides being something that's interesting, this can actually have an impact on normal people when they're actually looking for an attorney.
So the other day I was with an attorney who was largely regarded to be one of the best attorneys around, and he's going to do my will. Now, I went to law school, and I did okay in law school. I was, I did all right. I'm not going to brag. I did okay. I kind of get the general idea, and I took the bar, and I passed the bar. I sit down with this guy. I listened to him for an hour and a half, and he's billing me $375 an hour. I didn't understand a thing the guy said, like not even a thing. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, is this one of these people who is sort of teetering on the brink? And so my advice to people is, if you are going to meet with an attorney, first of all, don't just meet with one, meet with many, and go into it knowing that, this person, he might be top floor, he might have a beautiful tie on, but, take a good look at this guy or lady and really look at it from the perspective of, is this person really stable?
Yeah, and I think when we come back from the break, what we're going to do is we're going to have some actual practical applications for that.
I keep thinking Better Call Saul, because that character he plays looks like he's on the brink.
Well, I don't think that character is very far from the truth for some people.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it makes it so good.
I keep thinking of that image. I don't know why.
Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to actually give some practical tips on how to sit down and really evaluate a lawyer when you're looking to hire one. You're listening to Wade Beyond the Courtroom. This is AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I am attorney Wade Skalski, and this is Wade Beyond the Courtroom. So we're speaking with attorney Nicholas Alcock and about basically the general health, I would say, of the legal population and how that can impact you when you're looking for a lawyer. So, Nick, we're chatting about, we're sitting down with lawyers. There's actually a 6 times, higher chance than average that they may have a mental health issue with regards to suicide. There's a 300% chance that they may have a substance abuse problem, and we have to pick this person to help us with our legal problem. So, what are some of the things that we can do in that situation?
Well, I think you got to use your instincts, and like I said, talk to a lot of lawyers, and if you get the vibe that the lawyer is a little bit off, even from, let's say you make a phone call and you want to set up the appointment, let's say it takes them 48 hours to get back to you. If it's starting that way, it will probably get worse. So that's a little tell right there. And then you really want to look and just ask yourself, is this person healthy? Because I talk to lawyers all the time. They got massive dark circles under their eyes. They look like they slept under a VW bus. They look rough.
Hey, are you looking at the YouTube feed for us right now? Because I don't think I look that bad, quite frankly.
I am. It just popped in my head for some reason. I'm sorry. I couldn't help but think that.
My wife gave me a look this morning. She was like, "You look a little rough today," and I was like, "Hey, I didn't."
I'm not seeing it though.
I didn't thank you.
No, yeah.
Anyways, sorry, Nick. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was feeling pressure myself.
He's ranting.
That's right.
I think you know it when you see it. It's kind of like pornography. It's like, when you cross the line, when you get to a certain type of unhealthy demeanor. I say if you don't have the high pro glow, you probably don't want to hire that attorney. Yeah. You don't want to bring in somebody who's going to be showing up representing you looking like they're about to jump off a cliff.
Well, and the other thing too, I think is useful is this is kind of we're making light of a serious topic, but it's important that people know this because when people have a legal problem, it is one of the most stressful things imaginable, be it if you were accused of a crime, or let's say that you have some civil dispute with regards to your home. These things are all very stressful. So I think one reason that lawyers themselves have some coping issues is that the stakes are so high for their clients. So imagine if you have 60 clients or 20 clients or 100 clients or however many you have. Basically, every single one of those people, when they're talking to you like on literally the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
And so, besides your own the issues that you're in an adversarial system where you are, fighting with another opposing counsel or fighting with a judge or fighting with, the government, you also have these issues with your clients as well. So I think it's important that people understand that too. And maybe sometimes we need to cut our lawyers a little bit of a break if they're, 20 minutes late getting back to you with a phone call.
Do you think it's because they know that everybody's watching them as well? I mean, they're really under the microscope, not just their client, but the judge is watching, jury's watching, obviously. If it's a high-profile case, the media could be watching. I mean, that's a lot to process.
Absolutely.
For an attorney.
And Nick, what do you, in terms of, do you think the scrutiny that lawyers are under is more or less now given social media?
Definitely more. it's one of those things where you make a mistake, and next thing you know, it's all over Twitter, it's all over Facebook. Hasn't happened to me personally, of course, but
Right.
I see it happen with people. There was a gentleman who showed up late to court, and he was drunk. Next thing you know, everybody in the legal community knows about this lawyer who showed up and had alcohol on his breath. It's all over Facebook. It's all over Twitter. People are talking about it, and you can't hide. You can't. I'm not saying that that's a mistake. That's a profound mistake, but it just seems like you can't make a mistake now. And if you do, everyone's going to be talking about it really soon.
Well, and even too is like if you represent over the course of a period of time, whatever it is, let's say 100 people, some of those people are going to be a little squirrely with their reviews. I'll give you an example. I actually got a case dismissed, and I got a 4 out of 5 star review on a case dismissed, and I had an entire paragraph about how my client was and this is a public review, was basically upset a little bit about that a phone call issue, right? In terms of maybe perhaps that it was the communication wasn't that great. Now that may have been true, okay, but I did get the case dismissed, but so it's interesting is that you have this hodgepodge of people all the way from our clients themselves. Sometimes some of them are dialed in, sometimes they're not. They're all emotional. The lawyers are all emotional, and all of these people are in an adversarial system against each other. You get some pretty crazy You can get some pretty crazy outcomes in those scenarios.
You can. I have a situation where there was a negative review about me. It was literally posted by a competitor who forgot that he had set up an email account that was parallel with the email account that he set up to do the review. So 6 months later, I see you actually did the review, and it was a competitor. So be careful with reviews. It's one of those things where it's big business. There's big dollars, big numbers behind those reviews. I think the best thing to do is go to the bar. If you go to the state bar and you say, does this person have any disciplinary history? And if they do, run away, because there's lots of lawyers out there. You don't have to go with the one who's been in trouble but fixed it. You can, obviously use your best judgment, but the state bar is probably the best place to go. There's also a website called AVVO, AVVO, and it will tell you whether or not the person has a disciplinary history. I think that's the key here. Have they been in trouble with the bar?
It's actually relatively difficult to get in trouble with the bar, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we come back from the break. You're listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I am attorney Wade Skalski, and this is Wade Beyond the Courtroom. We're talking with attorney Nick Alcock about basically the general state of affairs and finding an attorney and things to watch out for. Nick, I found one thing that was very interesting about our conversation is that people may not realize that an attorney's caseload doesn't stop. So it's not as if they get a break. It's when they close a case, 1 or 2 more cases fills that void. I think that constant pressure has a lot to do with what we're talking about.
It totally does. And I'm in a really unique situation where I'm an employer and I employ 18 attorneys. So I get attorneys who have their own practices and maybe they're running into trouble. They want to come in, they want to talk to me, and they want me to hire them. The one thing that those attorneys in trouble, almost to every single one, has the same problem. They've taken on too much. They've spent the money, and now they have to work on all these files, and they've run out of money. And that's a dangerous lawyer. That's a lawyer who is definitely not serving their clients very well. They're under a lot of stress. They've taken on too much. They're really worried about paying their bills. They can't. And I talk to lawyers like that all the time. They want to eat lunch with me and say, hey, can you bail me out of the situation? And usually I say no, because I don't want to have people like that working for me.
Right, and the thing about it too is it's very easy to get caught up in that, because that's a business skill, and that's not taught in law school. Is that the idea of how much work can I manage, and then it's like projects. It's a work. If your employer says I'm going to give you 50 projects, and then you don't close out any of your old projects, you're going to become overwhelmed immediately.
Now, if you're in a law office with, like, say, 4 or 5 attorneys, will they hand their cases off to somebody else?
Absolutely, and that's a benefit of working as a team and working together. But solo practitioners, they've got to be very careful not to get behind their caseload or get overwhelmed, because then they can start to exacerbate maybe some of these existing problems.
Yeah.
And so that is something that the only way that you really learn that actually is by yourself going to failure or near failure, meaning you don't know what your capacity is in terms of your caseload until you get really close to it. And that's been sort of my experience in terms of kind of figuring out what's a good level.
I'm wondering how, like doctors as well, just to compare. You look at the doctor's office, how many patients they have and see. I mean, that's amazing. So it's kind of comparable that way too.
Yeah. Well, everyone's different, but
with any business,
right.
But with an attorney, obviously, there's a lot on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah.
Nick, when you are have an employee that's working for you as an attorney, and I'm sure you manage their caseload in terms of try not to have them overwhelmed. Is there other things that you can emphasize that kind of help deal with that stress that you've seen that works?
I actually have a massage therapist come once a week, believe it or not.
Nice.
That's got to help.
I try to make sure they sleep. I absolutely try to make sure that they're getting enough rest. I'll send people home. If they're sick, I send them home. There are little details that you can attend to. I make sure there's always plenty of water in the office. I tell people to go take a walk for 20 minutes and come back. And I also make sure that the office environment itself is one that's comfortable and nice and clean. I really emphasize keeping everything orderly and clean, and you can turn your lights off and put your head down for a second, catch your breath, and it makes a huge difference. And so most lawyers, you just get wrapped up in that day-to-day. You're running from court to court. I always tell my lawyers, before you walk into court, stop, go to the bathroom, put some water on your face, take a deep breath, and then go into court. Slow down a little bit. Just bring it down, and it makes a huge, huge difference. It's very small, but so from the consumer side, if you see someone who's running super late, if they run into the meeting and they're carried, if their office is a mess, if they are unorganized and they've got a day planner that's got stuff sticking out of it, all those things are tells. And again, you got to ask yourself, do you want that lawyer representing you in court? Do you want that person showing up and basically being your face and your mouth?
Right. Well, because they're your representative, and basically, since you yourself as the client don't have a law license, you're stuck with what your lawyer is doing for you. And I think you give a really important point, is that for me, it's hard. One thing I had to learn was, my phone. I give my clients my cell phone, so they all have instant access to me, and so I literally have to put my phone on silent some days, because the idea is there's nothing that's so important that it can't wait 1 hour. You know what I mean? Right. And I think, Nick, that's a very powerful, it seems like such a small little thing to do, but I think, it's very true. We have all this instant access with Twitter and Facebook, and, people are taking picture of the food they eat, and, and so, all of these things add up to where no one takes time to slow down anymore. And I think that these are all really important, valuable lessons for attorneys as well as for all of us in terms of working environment.
And you wonder how attorneys did it like 30, 40 years ago, and we didn't have social media, we didn't have cell phones, and it was yellow pages, and you had that one phone number, that one office phone number.
Well, Nick, yeah, exactly.
And now it's like instant.
Yeah, and Nick, I think that may be some of the struggle for older attorneys, is that they're used to the sort of the slower pace for 10, 20 years, and that last 10 years things have really ratcheted up. I think that may have something to do with it as well.
It totally does. And the one thing I can tell you about you, Wade, is that you absolutely get, I think, which is most important, and that is the human side of being a lawyer, and also being human with yourself, but also with the clients, and being able to interact with them. A lawyer who can express empathy and a lawyer who cares about his or her clients, that lawyer probably cares about themselves also. And I know that you subscribe to that in a big way. I know you care about yourself. You're taking care of yourself. You've got a good caseload. You're taking care of your clients. But it shows because you have empathy. And so if you walk in as a client, sit down with an attorney, and you can tell that conversation is all about the attorney and how great they are and how wonderful they are, then you know this lawyer might have some problems. If you feel like there's no empathy there, that's a huge, huge red flag.
Well, yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it is important. I think part of my practice, and actually part of doing this show, is I want my clients and people to be able to realize that attorneys are real people as well, but also that to make the law and the process of it more accessible. So, really a fascinating talk today, Nick. I really we're running out of time, and really appreciate having you in, and love to have you in again someday. You think you can come back someday?
As long as I don't get shot by that guy on the freeway, I would love to.
Well, I think you're in good shape down there over in Arizona. So be safe. Thank you so much for coming in today, Nick. We really appreciate it.
Wade, thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, you've been listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I am attorney Wade Skalski, and this is Wade Beyond the Courtroom.